Good day, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk, the Todd Worsham Show. Whoa, wasn't ready for that countdown. So good day, everybody, and welcome to the show. Today we're going to be going over a couple of things, and I did hear some people like the ladybug thing. They learned some stuff, so I thought I'd throw in another bug, the daddy long leg. So let's do a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about some other things that are going on that are kind of crazy, and have fun. Enjoy the show. All right. Daddy Longlegs, also called harvestmen, which I have never heard, may number in tens in number. God, I'm so glad I'm raw and unedited. The daddy longlegs, also called harvestmen, may number 10,000 species, of which scientists have documented roughly 6,500. They inhabit moist, dark places like tree trunks, leaf litter, and caves on every continent except Antarctica. The greatest diversity of the harvestman species lives in the tropics. Cool. So I'm just gonna go over like 9 quick things that I found on here that I thought were short, simple, and kind of educating, because it taught me some things. Because I don't know how you were. In fact, I'm one that used to say all this all the time, that they are the most poisonous spider in the world, and that their mouths were too small to bite you. I used to push that. I never really did any research until just now, until today. But cool fact is that the daddy longlegs, they're not even really spiders. Now, this is what confuses me, because first, daddy longlegs make up the order of opilinoids and aren't spiders. They are arachnids. See, and I thought arachnids were spiders. So I'm kind of weird about that. But so too are mites, ticks, and scorpions. So they're in the same family as ticks, mites, and scorpions, which I can't believe that a tick and a scorpion is in the same family, but that's what it says. So I guess the scientists know everything, right? We won't go down that road. Omnivorous daddy longlegs have pill-shaped bodies. They consume plants, fungi, carrion, and invertebrates, including other arthropods, snails. Unlike spiders, they can't make silk for spinning. So that's what confuses me, because there you go, the daddy longleg. Just make sure we're all talking about the same thing here. And that's really weird, because it says they can't make silk, but yet right here in my house in Maine, right out the front door on the top right-hand corner, there's like 3 or 4 of these things dead and like carcassed in what looks like a web, hanging from the porch right above my door. They've been there forever. So another nickname for the spider too is called the skull spider. Now I understand why. That's kind of cool, huh? The skull spider. So it says they don't make webs, but I don't know. I guess this one and the cellar spider are kind of the same but different. So I guess the cellar spider is the one that makes the webs, and that's probably what I have out there. But they look, I don't know. The information I pull up, it kind of confuses me. So we'll see. At any rate, so it says they don't make silk. Spiders have 2 segments to their bodies, and most eat only insects and other spiders. They have 8 eyes, while daddy longlegs have 2. Cellar spiders are often confused with daddy longlegs. See, I think that's what I have up there. Because of their long, spindly legs, they also have segmented bodies and build webs that identify them as spiders. People may call them daddy longlegs, but they aren't true daddy longlegs. So it sounds to me like I've been identifying these my whole life. Because if they don't make webs, they can't make webs. it's just really weird. So I wonder, I don't know. I guess they just, it doesn't really, anything I read, I read doesn't really tell you that, doesn't really get into that deep of that kind of stuff. So, and here's the big one. They aren't venomous. A common urban myth is that daddy longlegs have the most toxic venom of all spiders, but their fangs are too small to bite. I can remember saying this. I mean, I'm guilty. I've told this a million times probably. Because you know how you know us men are, oh yeah, we know everything. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Well, so basically, they aren't venomous, but their fangs are. Even if they were spiders, they don't have venom glands or fangs. Okay, so that's nice to know. So I guess the way you can tell the difference between a cellar spider and a harvestman or a daddy longleg, in my mind, would be the presence or the non-presence of a web. So if it's got long legs, it looks like a daddy long leg, and it's in or near or has a web, then it's not. It's a cellar spider, which do have fangs and do have venom, by the way. But from what I read from some other articles, they did some tests on the venom, and it's very, very minimal. It's very minimal. Okay, on an episode of the show Mythbusters, they debunked the daddy longleg myth with a bite experiments. Unfortunately, they didn't explain that those were cellar spiders from the order Felicidae, Pholcidae, not true daddy longlegs. See, so we've been misinformed, me included. And here's the other thing too: they can't see very well. They have really bad vision. Their two eyes are just like where a spider has 8 eyes. Like one of my favorite spiders is tarantula. I think tarantulas are they're awesome. They're incredible. I love them. But these only have two eyes. It has simply mounted turrets attached to their bodies. Those eyes act as light sensors and do not appear to provide more than blurry images. So they just basically see blurry images, so light or dark, nothing. Research shows that the cave harvestmen are most receptive to the light emitted by the glowworms that make up their diet. Harvestmen learn about the world around them using the sensitive tips of their legs and sense organs. They are ancient. Studies show that the opiliones, Opiliones, that's the category the spiders or this non-spider is in, this arachnoid, first appeared a long time ago and have barely changed at all over millions of years. Fossils dating back 400 million years before dinosaurs roamed the earth look very similar to today's daddy longlegs. Because of their extensive history, researchers use daddy longleg fossils for evolutionary and biographic studies. Scientists even can trace Pangaea splitting into separate continents through the evolutionary divergence of the fossils. Another myth, which I didn't really know anything about this, or one way or the other, their legs don't grow back. Another myth is that their legs grow back. During the average lifetime, daddy longlegs have a 60% chance of losing one or more of their legs. This can happen when a predator pulls them off or when the harvestman chooses to detach the appendage. Their gait then permanently changes. Typically, they use the 2 longest legs as feelers, then alternate the other 6 legs with 3 legs, touching the ground at any time. Their bodies bounce up and down and look like a dribbled basketball. When missing a leg, if 2 or more are missing, the dribbling basketball turns into a more extreme bobbling motion. That's cool. They have a range of defenses. Okay, here we go. Detaching their legs isn't the only or even primary way they escape predators. Daddy longlegs prefer to blend in with their surroundings and play dead. Warning predators away with a foul smell liquid from their exocrine glands is another defense. The glands are unique to these arachnids and are also used to communicate with other harvestmen. Some species have armored bodies that protect them from predation. Okay, and this one's really cool. They use glue to catch their dinner. Daddy longlegs have a small hairy appendage near their mouth used as a sensory organ called pedipalps. Pedipalps. Using high-speed cameras, researchers discovered the hairs on the pedipalps secrete a glue-like substance to capture prey. They embrace their mark with their pedipalps and apply the secretion in milliseconds. With only a few microscopic drops, the glue can disable organisms twice the harvestman's size. All right, and here's the other thing. It's kind of weird. Not too much on this one. Number 8. Wow. Groups of daddy longlegs, sometimes from the thick clusters called aggregations. Aggregations contain 3 or more huntsmen with one enormous assemblage containing 300,000 individuals. Once created, the mass can stay in place for months, particularly during winter. Researchers speculate that the aggregations form for mating, temperature control, humidity control, or to deter predators. These clusters can repel predators through their collective scent. If a predator continues to threaten the daddy longlegs, the whole aggression starts a disorientating bobbling motion before the individuals scatter. All right. And number 9 is about, I don't like the way that's written, so I'm not even going to read that. It says some species are endangered. And I don't want to get into that because it gets, in my opinion, it gets political from there. So I don't like to repeat politics. When I say that, I mean like climate change and shit like that. So I'm not going down that road. But at any rate, there is your daddy longleg, your skull spider. Looks pretty cool, huh? So that's kind of cool. I didn't know that. So now when I see one, if it has a web, then I know it's not a harvestman. I know it's an actual daddy longleg. And then it cannot bite me. And it is not venomous. But I've never worried about them anyway. So to me, they're just a pain in the butt. They're everywhere out here. So I don't know. All right. So let's move on to the next section of the show here. Oh, I really don't like talking conspiracies and all that kind of stuff. So I'll just leave it at this. What the hell's going on in California? I was born and raised in California. And I know from personal experience from growing up there that when I was younger, we actually cleaned the forest out. We actually got, well, let's put it this way. I lived in Big Bear. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Big Bear, but it's just in the mountains up from LA. I want to believe it's southeast. And we had every year we got these brain farting notes in the mail or in our mailbox to cut all the grass and everything around our houses. I think it was called abatement. Oh man, I can't remember. Anyway, so we used to get these notices that we had to cut down all the stuff around us. And then not only that, but Big Bear actually grabbed trucks and volunteers, and people went around cleaning up the forest. And then the forest department itself had a program for you to go grab all the loose and dead wood through the mountains to help the forest fires, and then you got free wood. I know, because I used to go to the ranger and pick up the permit and go drive through the mountains and fill up the whole back of my truck for the winter. So I know this to be true. Well, they don't do that anymore. And I'm not going to get into the politics side of that, but all I can say is when California was ran by conservatism, it ran better and it functioned properly, and everybody was happy and things were really well. And nowadays, that's why I left California. I left California because I saw it going down. And not only that, but I knew I'd never be able to afford a place to live there. So I left because things just started getting stupid. Taxes were raising, the prices of homes were too high, and all you had to do was work. I mean, it just seemed like you worked more than anything. And then when I came to Arizona, it was a whole new different lifestyle. It was way different. I was making less money, but I had a way better life. Was able to do more things and have more fun and be more outdoorsy and stuff like that. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to pick a side on this. I'm not going to say all the conspiracies that are going out there with the weapons that some people think that they're using and all this kind of stuff. I don't really know, and I really don't care. As y'all know, I talk a lot about spiritual stuff on my shows, and that's why I'm going to leave all that conspiracy crap alone, because in my mind, when the shift happens and when everything happens, if you're a Bible thumper, then it's a rapture, right? So, and this is happening like soon. It's here. It's happening. Don't kid yourself. And if you haven't been able to feel it, I suggest that you start looking around you and start focusing more on things that's going on around you, because there's signs everywhere. And if you're not seeing them, I don't know what that means, but in my mind, that's not good. So start looking around you, start seeing the signs that you can understand and that make sense to you. God is talking to all of us right now to make a choice. We have a choice to stay here in the 3D planet, or we got a choice to move to the 5D planet. It's the choice is yours. It's what you choose to do. And I personally am going to hop on the new boat and go on. So I believe I am. I mean, it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen here real soon. And I don't know if anybody saw Dr. Greer's his interview on Newsmax talking about full disclosure coming up sometime in the next week or so. I personally think it's going to be after the inauguration, and I don't want to sound like it's conspiracy freak, but I got the feeling that the inauguration is going to be happening at Mar-a-Lago and not Washington, D.C. And I'm just saying this through my own gut, and I don't know that to be true or nothing. I just have the feeling that I think the White House is not going to be the White House anymore for Donald Trump. I think Mar-a-Lago is going to be the White House for us while he's in office. That's just my opinion. I have nothing to base that on. I'm just strictly going off my intuition and my inside self. And I could be totally wrong. Maybe he is going to move into the White House, and he may move into there. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not here to make prophecies or make predictions or any of that kind of stuff. But all I know is you should be feeling the shift. And when I say feeling the shift, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes you feel like you're not really here. You're kind of like living in a dream. Sometimes you think of things in the past and they don't make sense, or they're not as you remember them, or you can't remember them, especially if you can't remember them. If you can't remember things from your past, I'm learning that that's part of the shift. That's because we're letting things go and we're moving into the new, they call it dimension, but it's basically a frequency. So it's not a dimension, because dimension is actually geometric. So I like to say density, because densities are frequencies. And from what I've read and learned and everything, it's going to happen fairly quickly, and it's going to be just like in the Bible. The Bible's all there. I mean, I've said it a million times on my program. We have proved more things in the Bible than we have disproved. Now, I personally take all the scriptures from different, like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Catholicism, Christianity, Quran, all that stuff. And you take all those things and you look at them as a whole in one big picture and line up all the pieces of the puzzle that fit together. And if you do that, I don't understand how you can't come to the conclusion that we are living in a matrix, that we are divine beings that have chosen to come here and do this stuff, because it's in all the scriptures, all of them. And then not only that, how could all these peoples from our past have carvings, petroglyphs, hieroglyphs, all these scriptures and writings of what we seem to think as flying ships or flying, whatever. And it's everywhere on our planet in ancient history. And also, what no one seems to talk about or really think about is, in my mind, when I look back at ancient technology and ancient peoples and all that kind of stuff, it looks to me like their technology was a million times more advanced than ours. But in my mind, the big difference is they weren't destroying the planet. They understood, like I always preach, that the planet is a living entity. It's a living thing. And it seems to me that the peoples of ancient world understood that, and they learned how to live they learned how to live on the planet in harmony with the planet itself. And what do I mean by that? Well, you don't see that they built any roads. You don't see that they built all these big factories. They didn't build all this stuff. They didn't have Walmarts full of fucking millions of pieces of fucking garbage crap that, why are we ever even making? I mean, why does someone need 50 different fucking colors of shoes, or this or that? I mean, it's all materialistic garbage that completely destroys our planet by manufacturing all this shit. See, they knew back then, you don't need all that. You build your houses out of stone, out of rock. You're good. You're good for earthquakes. You're good for fires. You're good for rain. You're good for everything. I mean, think about it. Some of these dwellings that we're pulling up, which they're only telling you are like 10,000 years old, is full of crap. Some are hundreds of thousands of years old. And they've stood the test of time. So it's just hard to understand why we do what we do to our planet. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't grow and have a society and all that kind of stuff. But I think it should be more on the technological side, more on innovating things. I mean, I really don't know how those people got around. I personally think it was through either portals or it was through some type of technology that just, moved you around instantaneously, which I think our government already has. And I think it's going to be part of the disclosure. And I believe all this stuff's going to come to fruition, and we're going to find out how our ancient ancestors lived and how they treated the planet, because I believe that when we go into the fifth dimension density, that we are going to do the same thing. We are actually going to come out the other side, and we're going to be one with the planet like we're supposed to be, and things are going to be completely different. So they're going to be the same but different. I think our cities will be different. I think our modes of transportation will be different. I think the way that we think will be different. The way that we treat each other will be different. I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, I only know what I read, what the Palladians and the Turians and all these other races of people tell us. Some people have seen them. Most people haven't. Are they real? I don't know. All I know is ancient archaeology tells us that they are. The creation tablets from Samaria tell us that they are. The Bible tells us they are. The Quran tells us they are. The Hindu scriptures tell us they are. The Buddha scriptures tell us that they are. So, I mean, we have all of these written scriptures and all this stuff through ancient history that tells us that the Anunnaki existed. They tell us that these blue, if you read the Hindu scriptures, Shiva was blue, right? Well, Tibetans are blue. So, I mean, the more you learn about all this stuff, the crazier it gets. But if you start taking the ancient archaeology and start looking at what's going on in today's world with the channelers and like channels like Gaia, and if you go on X, there's certain people on there, Cabe, and I can't remember all the names, but there's all these people that are on there who are claiming to be channelers, and I can't prove they are or they're not. I mean, I have no way of doing that. I only believe in this because I can feel it in my bones. And I think I've said this on several of my programs. Sometimes I wake up with things that I don't understand why I know them or why they were given to me. Like on last week's episode, I think I talked about that little vision I had with little cards with people's names on them, and it said shift or not shift or all this kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know why I saw that. I wasn't thinking about it. I had no idea anything about all that. My vision was clear. I mean, they were little pieces of paper with names on it, and they're basically saying who was going to shift and who wasn't going to shift. And I don't understand why I would see something like that, because I didn't even think, I have no thoughts on that. I'm just trying to get my spiritual situation squared away so that when the shift happens, I'm on the right boat, and which I'm 99% sure I'm going to be anyways. And I really don't think it has anything to do with the word sin. What the fuck is a sin? Oh my God, the Catholic Church. What an oppressive. I don't know. Religion to me is just so, it's just fucking oppression and slavery. It's slavery of the mind. It just, if you go to Jesus's teachings, that's what you need to know. The rest of it's just whatever. It's just stories. It's just stuff. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying it is true or not true. I'm not debating that. All I know is the stories in the Bible, locations and cities and this and that, we have found and we have proven to be real. So we know that the locations in the Bible are true. And we know that certain peoples existed. We know that to be true. Okay. But in my mind, what isn't true is religion, because it didn't start till after Jesus ascended. And if I remember correctly, from what I read, Mary wasn't good with that, or whatever his wife's name was, wasn't good with that. And then the disciples decided to start the church. And then once man got a hold of things, that's when it all went downhill. And I mean, if you think about it, so the story goes, the Anunnaki, which is plural, those who came from heaven to earth. So it's not about, the reptilians. Are the reptilians Anunnaki? Yeah. But you also have the Palladians, and you have Tibetans, and you have Achurians, and you had several other species come to the planet at the same time. But I believe the reptilians are the ones who started us. And then when other species came in, they mingled their DNA with us. And that's why we have black people, yellow people, red people, white people, Jews. I think that's why we have separation of all that. And then in my mind, the whole reason why we have different religions are because I think back in those days, the gods, whether, depending on what species you were from had different languages. Duh. And then not only that, but you knew where somebody was from by the language they spoke. Yes? So if someone's speaking this over here and someone's speaking that over there, if you went to a different village and you got to that village and you can't speak the language, then everybody knows that you're not from there. So I just see it as another form of division. I see it as another way to separate and divide and conquer the human race. That's just the way I see it. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. And I've got no way to prove any of that. That's just what I feel that I know. And again, that's just part of all this stuff. I mean, I don't think we look inside of ourselves and ask ourselves what we know to be true, which I just started doing just a few years ago. And the more I do that, the more I understand all of this, and the more I realize that things are going to change. And I'm really excited to be on this planet at this time. I really am. I mean, this is going to be really great. But there's always a but. It's going to get worse. So while it's getting worse, don't stress. Don't trip out. Don't get caught up in the conspiracies. Walk away from it all. Keep yourself in your bubble. Work on your spiritual. Work on your chakras. Work on your introspect. Work on yourself, inside yourself. Talk to yourself. Figure out what you want to do, where you're going, how you're doing it. But work on yourself. And the biggest thing, and I say this all the time, is love, love, love. Learn how to give it and learn how to receive it. Because one thing that's been proven, and even scientifically, and I think I spoke about this on my last show or maybe before, prayer brings manifestation. So the more love that we give, the more love that we receive, manifests more love over the planet. That's the way it is. And that's what's so cool about the rapture. That Bible people, you call it the rapture. I'm going to call it the shift because that's what it is. It's a shift. But it's cool because all of the individuals who love, give love, receive love, and are of loving nature will ascend to the fifth density. And those people I don't want to name names. Let's put it this way, the people that are in the news, especially in maybe this place called California, Hollywood, those people they're going to stay here. And this is going to be their world. So they can fuck it all up or they can get it cleaned up. They can do whatever they want with it, but it's going to stay on its path, and we're going to be here kind of like in a parallel, but we're going to be in a different density. So we won't see, if I understand things correctly, they won't be able to see us, but we can go back and interact with that. But I'm not really sure on that. I'll have to do more research on that because I haven't seen that. I don't think I've seen that question asked yet, actually. I don't know, but I don't think I've seen that question asked. But everything else that I've learned, you can, because if you're in a higher dimension, you can always look down or go to or into a lower dimension. So why would you want to do that? I don't know, but I don't know. But I think it's only a one-way thing. I'm 99% sure that you can't see the higher dimensions unless there's a portal or unless there's something in between the dimensions that you can go through, because that's where all these creatures are coming from. Like you see on X or on Facebook or whatever, that's not AI or bullshit crap. But I mean, there really are creatures in the fourth dimension. I mean, the Palladians and the people that we channel through and all that, they talk about it all the time. The fourth dimension is filled with, I know you all are going to laugh at me. That's your dimension where the fairies and the hobbits and the Sasquatch, and which, by the way, are not mean. They're not out to eat you. If they were out to eat you, you'd be eaten. So they're really not bad humanoids or whatever, but some of them in there are pretty creepy. But you got to remember that's all manifestations. It's something that comes from inside you that you created. It gets really crazy because manifestation is really, really, it's what you can manifest things. You can manifest them in your dreams. You manifest them when you have nightmares. Just as easy as you can manifest winning or getting that job or feeling better or doing better. You can manifest those things inside you by how you interact with yourself. Are you going to be this way or are you going to be this way? You have to choose that and then manifest that. So there's prayers. You can do prayers, crystals, all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of ways. I do frequency. I do a lot of frequency stuff. I just did a sound immersion thing, which is really cool. It's where you're bombarded by all these different frequencies, and you lay in a bed, and the bed actually has speakers in it, so the frequencies actually physically go through your body, and it's just unbelievable. And I have a frequency multiplier, and I listen to that almost pretty much daily. I listen to 2 or 3 frequencies a day to get my mind uncrusted and help get myself going and feel healthy. And then all of that. I've spoke about this several times. Scientifically, they have proven that frequencies can heal and repair your body. It can kill cancer cells. I mean, there's a in fact, I was just talking to this the other day about somebody at work about this, and they actually saw the video that I was talking about the Japanese scientist guy who physically busted up cancerous cells with frequency on YouTube. So it's on you. You hear that, YouTube? It's on YouTube. So don't kick my video off. I'm not misinforming. So it's all real. Frequencies are everything. They're everything. Got to get your frequency where it needs to be. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the show today. Daddy Longleggs. They're not venomous. Oh, that's so. Now I have to go back to everybody I told I lied to and say, you know what? I'm wrong. Not. But I will never say that again. So now the cellar spiders can bite and do have venom, but they are not venomous to humans. Okay. And just so you know, neither is a North American tarantula. You can hold them, carry them, play with them, and they will not bite you. I used to have them as pets when I was younger. They're the most incredible creature. So anyway, everybody, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Have a good day.